Alex, you chaired the committee. Peter, what do you?
You're muted, Peter.
Yeah, go ahead, right? Go ahead, Gail.
Okay, that's fine. Right, good morning, everyone. We have extraordinary meetings called this morning. We've just had an appointment and remuneration meeting earlier to discuss the appointment of Professor Edmund Burke, which commenced on the 2nd of August. You may remember the appointment and remuneration group approved the appointment of Professor Burke, and then that was agreed by the council following that discussion. Today we met to discuss some changes following his circumstances at the university. The post originally was a non-remunerated post from the organisation's point of view, but due to Professor Burke's commitment and that he will be doing the work in addition to his university role, the paper that you will have received covers the remuneration in line with our current NED posts. Discussion took place this morning and governors contributed to that, questioning around Professor Burke's time concerns or restraints in relation to filling that role. We've been given assurance that Professor Burke is committed and that he will be fulfilling that requirement. What the remuneration allows us to do as a Board of Governors is to hold him to account in the same way as we would do any other NED who has been appointed. So Alan will be going through with Professor Burke in relation to his objectives and provide us with the assurance that he is fulfilling that remit. So it's over to you this morning. I don't know if Richard, you want to add anything in addition to the conversations or the paper that's been submitted?
Thank you, Gail. First of all, I just want to say thank you to everyone for coming together this morning, well, it's afternoon now, to consider this one item. Just to clarify, in case, I hope it's clear in the paper, so the council met on the 2nd of August to approve Edmund's appointment to a non-executive. So he started as a non-executive on the 2nd of August and is already in post. And the request today is to simply turn it from a non-remunerated to a remunerated position as far as his terms and conditions are concerned. And as Gail said, Alan will be setting objectives and the council will be able to review those in line with any other non-executive. But happy to take questions, as I'm sure members of ARG and Alan are as well.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Anybody? Get rid of that from my screen. Anyway, Mo.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Gail. Prof. Burke was due to address us following the 2nd of August, but it never materialized for some reasons. I know that he's now promoted to deanership, but he must remain committed to linking us as a teaching hospital to the University of Leicester. I mean, it's a continuation of something that has been happening for years. He's going to be a NED, treated as a NED. Is he not going to be operational? Is he not going to supervise things himself and make sure they happen?
No, we have the convention here, Mo, is that when you become a university hospital, you have a non-exec director nominated by the university. Now, NGH has had one for 3 years now or so, Professor Robinson, who has become dean. So he has moved from NGH to Leicester University Hospitals, where it is conventional for the dean to head of school to sit on that board. So that post was always remunerated as a non-exec director in accordance with NHS Trust rules. And it really was my fault for getting a bit mixed up around this particular appointment. But this is not, this is a non-exec director post in order to connect our board very explicitly in partnership with the University of Leicester. And the other thing about it, I think, sorry about that, the important thing from Gail's point that Gail has made is, of course, this makes him like any other non-exec director, and you can absolutely, I can hold him to account, you can hold him to account through me, and we will set objectives for what we wish him to achieve, which will all be around the linkages with Leicester, not just in the medical school, but in the wider context of Leicester and R&D, research and development, and the wider clinical school. But I think it also, in a foundation trust, it's particularly important because non-exec directors in a foundation trust actually do have liabilities and personal responsibilities. And I think it's right and proper, partly because Northampton pays. Everywhere else I have checked with pays. You know, Milton Keynes, that sort of thing, Cambridge, and indeed Leicester pays. But it's also important that we allow us to demand something from him in accordance with your agreement. And it also allows him to be a fully functioning non-exec director as opposed to someone standing on the sidelines because he's in a different category.
That's what I wanted to know, really. Do we know his objectives yet?
No, I haven't agreed them yet.
But do we have any sort of draft?
I would normally have a conversation with Peter and Trevor about those objectives before I do them. So we would normally approach it with governor involvement in that. But as I say, it will be very much about maximising the opportunities. His interests are probably more in research and development, in the R&D agenda than in the clinical teaching agenda. But that's fine because his opposite number down in Northampton is Professor Andre Nig, who's the Professor of Cardiology at Leicester. So between the two of them, they offer us as a group a terrific linkage into the clinical school.
Thank you.
Gail.
Just following on from Mo's conversation there and talking about the holding to account, are you able, either Richard or yourself, Alan, and obviously appreciate the objectives are going to be agreed, examples of, from a governor point of view, we observe other NEDs in their role and how they fulfil that remit. So where or how, for example, might we observe Professor Burke fulfilling his remit?
Well, clearly, in the board itself is the principal vehicle for that. But it was and is our intention to put him into the People Committee rather than the Quality Governance Committee, because I think I want to think this in as wide as possible, a linkage with the university. And so, for instance, we have been talking about an academy for medical leadership. Which may or may not be linked with Leicester, but I think it's very, the NHS, I'm going to digress for a minute, Gail. The NHS has a long tradition of sort of finding some medical leaders and demanding too much of them and making a bit of a mess of their careers by asking for too much too soon. So, and I think we have a good cadre of potential clinical leaders in the trust, and we ought to invest in them properly in their training and development. So I think we're interested in that. We're also interested in using, I don't know if you know this, but Leicester's nursing school is a 4-year degree because they do a year in the management school with the intention of them moving quite rapidly through to nursing leadership roles. So I think, again, we're looking for connections there through Professor Burke to take forward some connection with their management school for quality nurse leadership from our own organisation and from Northampton. So it's that sort of area. So I feel it's more people committee than quality governance in this context. And of course, he's not a doctor.
Thank you.
Mo.
Right. Can I just elaborate on your digression about doctors being managers? I think the biggest mistake Mrs. Thatcher did was not to prepare us to management before just plunging us into it. I remember they took us to Templeton College in Oxford to teach us some of these principles, which was quite useful. But the problem was most of the original managers who came to us, medicine was a bit alien to them. I know that managers can manage anything, but medicine was a little bit difficult for them, I'm afraid. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Mo, and it's early days. It's a conversation I've been pressing with Simon. You know, as we develop this clinical strategy, we're going to need some seriously good medical leaders to deliver this clinical strategy. And we have to invest in those, whether that's London Business School or INSEAD in Paris or University College London. I mean, they're all debatable ways to go at this, but I think finding some kind of cadre of people. Anyway, it is a digression, and you're absolutely right that we need to bring together our managerial leaders and our clinical leaders, not just our doctors, and we need to think about how to do that. And the obvious way into this is, in part at least, through the University of Leicester. So, any other comments, anybody? No, I don't see any other comments. Are you happy to approve the remuneration of normal non-exec director rates for Professor Edmund Burke in accord with the recommendation of your remuneration committee chaired by Gail? Yes, I see plenty of hands going up. So, thank you very much for that. Anybody opposed to that? No, I don't see any hands. Okay, thank you very much indeed. Is there any other business? No. In which case, I look forward to seeing you on the 1st of December. Thank you very much, and I apologise again for dragging you in today for a one-item meeting. Thank you very much, everybody. Bye.
Thank
Thanks
you.
all. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.